Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
Whatever has happened, the CAT exam is over, park it outside and start preparing for the next stage of the process. Start reading extensively, start developing your CV, start extensively preparing for the PIs.
To all the engineers out there, you can tell people that although you can hate us, you can't ignore us. This is how Professor Aditya Jadhav welcomed the batch of 2019-21 at TAPMI, an institute that focuses on an interesting selection procedure. An engineer himself and later finance MBA graduate, Professor Jadhav has been associated with TAPMI for the last 6 years and has headed admissions for a long time. So what makes the admission process unique and who is fit for admission at TAPMI? This and a lot more would be discussed in today's episode with Professor Jadhav. Welcome, Professor Jadhav, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
To begin with, you joined as an associate professor of finance and then moved on to become the admissions chairperson. And now you are in charge of the corporate engagement as well. So over this long association that you had with TAPMI, what were some of the things that you have seen changing?
2017 to 2019, I was the chairman of admissions. What we did was we relooked at the way we are selecting students, and we made a conscious decision that aptitude is fairly evaluated through CAT. Knowledge base, the student's ability to learn and knowledge is fairly evaluated through his past academic records. One thing that we found necessary, in demand by the corporates, something that was not tested adequately prior to 2017 was the attitude of the students. So we actually went from a regular knowledge-based selection where you would ask students questions on their graduation, some subject knowledge, some current affairs and other things, to a segregated attitude-based selection. Okay. For example, we said current affairs, just not knowing about current affairs is not enough. Okay, someone who should be able to discuss it. So we focused on evaluating a student's ability to engage and his knowledge about current affairs in the GD. We said we don't need to test it again in the PI. So what we went ahead and started evaluating during the admissions PI was basically the attitude. The questions were basically about the student's own life till date.
Professor Jadhav, something that happens in the selection procedure for admissions for students is that, importance given to the group discussions and personal interview.
Yeah.
Why, as an organization, TAPMI believes in this particular, testing of students when they come in to the B school, and what have you seen? What are some of the overarching trends that has come up over the years? When you have given emphasis on this?
The first thing that we really are interested in looking at a GD is the student's ability to engage with others. Okay, in a slightly stressful situation like a GD, okay, because I say slightly stressful because in the future the student is actually going to face much more stressful situation. So in the base slightly stressful situation of a GD, how does a student behave with another student? That is one. Second, what is the student's understanding of the current affairs? Because most of the GD topics, at least at TAPMI, are all about current affairs. When I'm looking at someone's current affairs, I'm not only looking at whether he knows the facts, I'm looking at his ability to analyze the facts and come out with a proper understanding. Now that second point, sorry to say, I find not many students really skilled at, and the biggest problem that I have seen on that front is that nowadays there is some vague idea that reading a headline is enough. Please go and read the editorials. And unless you have read and you have read and read and read, you will never find the way your personality evolves. You will not be able to engage fruitfully.
What are the three major things in terms of characteristics that I should acquire or I should have to be part of the TAPME world?
We are very clear, someone who understands, who is grounded enough to understand the current situation is the one we want to be a part of that. Okay? We are uncomfortable. We don't like students who come home with air. Second thing, TAPME is, if you really ask me, is like a land of opportunity. Okay, we have very strong systems. We have very strong opportunity set for a student. We actually support students going to competitions. We want everyone to participate in competition. It doesn't matter if you fail. But you should understand what's happening out there, how difficult the things are, what are the other schools doing.
I would like to know a little bit more about, is there preference that is given to a particular academic background of students, or a particular work experience that you are looking for the students joining in?
Okay. We do not prefer any specific academic background, not at all. If someone has got 85% and above in CAT, yes, and is really good in his background, he has shown a fair aptitude towards management education. After all, management education in itself is extensively diverse. Okay, it is not a technical program like engineering, and hence, for example, we do get BCom graduates and we do get engineers. We do get arts. We had even this year we have some medicine and pharmacy side students. So because we are a part of Manipal group, and then Manipal University itself is known for its medicine side. So some of those also have joined. So we have a fair good variety of students, though we would like to have more variety. In terms of work experience, yes, we do prefer students anywhere between 2 to 4 years of work experience. That doesn't mean that the preference is in terms of restriction on other type of students. We do have so around 70% of the students at TAPME have prior work experience of more than 1 year.
What is the kind of pedagogy that TAPME has been following for over these years to make sure that this learning comes in very naturally for the students?
So in 2 words I can explain it. TAPME strongly believes in experiential learning, and we are committed to it. Means we are not going to say experiential learning for the sake of it, right? Experiential learning was our mantra almost 20 years back. Classic example of experiential learning at TAPME is the Brand Scan. Brand Scan is an event which is 25 years old at TAPME, which is basically a market research activity. But here what happens is just to ensure that the responses that you receive from an customer or from a participant are actually correct and not politically correct. These are projects that are given by corporates. These market research is not just so students go to corporates, they seek out projects, okay, they seek out funding for those projects, then they come back, they will actually then create a game, then we will have a 2-day fair, okay, where a large number of people participate. We evaluate them, and Brand Scan happens in Udupi and Bangalore, and we evaluate them, and once we have evaluated them and other things, then the students will go back, analyze the data captured, prepare a report, submit it back to the organization. When we astonished, we are the only registered student managed mutual fund, if you ask me, investment fund in the country. So we have something which is a student managed investment fund, where a student actually sell the fund to others, okay, collect real money, and I think right now they are managing some 14 or 15 lakhs worth of corpus, okay, invest it in the stock market, okay, and it is all decisions are taken by students. Now we have decided that, okay, every first year student will get involved in the live project just to understand what happens in a company.
Now the CAT is done, and now students are confused as to what should be their criterion, what should they look after for to make the choice of the preferred B school or the dream B school that they had. In that kind of a situation, any final messages that you have that you want to convey?
First message to all, do not get depressed, okay? CAT is not the end of the world. If they get a really good CAT score, fantastic, you have achieved something here. But if you have not, just because you have not got a good CAT score, that does not mean your life is over. Someone who has studied for almost 12 plus 4, 16 years, okay, or 15 to 16 years till his graduation, okay. His ability cannot be questioned by one exam, is my personal belief. Whatever has happened, the CAT exam is over, park it outside and start preparing for the next stage of the process. Start reading extensively, start developing your CV, start extensively preparing for the PIs.
Keeping an eye on the future is what Professor Jadhav is suggesting for the students. Sulking with what has already happened is not going to help. And I am also personally a believer of that. And I hope that through this conversation that we had today, a lot of these aspirants who are confused and are not clear as to what to do next will get some help. Thank you, Professor Jadhav, for being here.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks. I would like to thank Inside IIM for having me here. It's an honor.